Welcome to another episode of Music Design. We're continuing in the Souls series, focusing this time on Dark Souls 3. The soundtrack was primarily composed by Yuka Kitamura, with some help by Motoi Sakuraba. Numerous people have loved this game's music, so I'm excited to dig into one of its most beloved, Firelink Shrine. Just like in the first Dark Souls game, Firelink Shrine is a somber, atmospheric, yet somehow peaceful song. The tempo of the song is set at 55 beats per minute, which is just about where the first Firelink Shrine song is set at. The time signature is at 3/4, but it's quite hard to feel the difference due to the slow pace of the song. Lastly, Kitamura finishes her song before the loop point at around 3 minutes. This version of Firelink Shrine shares many of the same instruments as the first game. The strings family will take the primary lead, featuring a wide variety of different types of stringed instruments. I've separated the strings so that the most prominent instrument, which is the cellos, will be on top. The cellos are chosen for their deep, melancholic tone, and you'll hear them dominate the mix for much of the song. Next, the solo violin will oftentimes act as the counter melody to the cello, and also provide a more intimate tone. Next, we have our two supporting string lines. Both violas and violins will act as pads to support the cellos and the solo violin. The harp will strike occasional notes in the key of F minor. Now, the biggest difference between the last Firelink Shrine song and this is the inclusion of the voice, which was likely sung by Kitamura herself. Although I use a solo voice for my version, it sounds strikingly close to the original. And then finally, the deep hits will round out the low end, and then play some powerful deep rumbles throughout the song. Section 1 begins with an ominous F note played by both cellos and violas. Now, why would the composer start the song in this way? Because we always must analyze why a composer makes certain decisions to craft a song. I feel that Kitamura wanted to set an ambience first, with a small arrangement before heightening the emotions of the song. Great composers like Kitamura know how to display the power of quieter sections, as well as the epic sections. While there's seemingly not much going on in this section, the composer utilizes powerful deep hits to invoke large-scale ominous dread, almost like a distant battle being engaged. Also, notice the wave-like pattern of the strings. As I opened up these automations for the volume, you can clearly see that they fade in to each note and fade out over time. Let's take a listen to the intro. Section 1 suddenly increases the intensity. Let's listen to the cellos isolated. They'll first sustain a strong perfect fifth interval with F and C, and then keeping the bottom F as the pedal tone, it'll move down and up the scale of F minor. Now notice the automation work done here. While crafting the automation takes time, certainly, the result sounds much more realistic. Listen to the cellos with and without the volume automation. The violins and violas fully support the cellos, being planted more in the mid and high range. Now, I'll be honest in saying that most of the string work in the song is not actually in the original song. The original had fully recorded strings and cellos that sound very impactful, whereas the virtual instruments I used need extra support to sound as impressive. For example, take a listen to a few measures after in the violas and violins. Taking a look at the harp, take notice of the massive reverb it has. The reason this is because harps by themselves don't have a huge sound. So in songs like these, where they're emphasized more, they need a lot more reverb to stand out amongst the other instruments. It also makes them sound more dreamier. Lastly, we have the female voice, which comes from Omnisphere. As you can hear, there's reverb abound here too. The voice greatly personalizes the song and gives a human instrument for the listener to connect to. Take a listen to the voice, the harp, the violins, and the violas playing together. Take a listen to section 1 all together. Section 2 is the solemn ending, the Firelink Shrine. The solo violin is emphasized more, so let's take a look at that first. The violin instrument I use for the solo violin comes from Embertone's Joshua Bell's violin. The awesome thing about this instrument is that you can not only control the vibrato and expressiveness, but the way you play the violin on the keyboard also affects the sound. What I mean by that is that if you play the violin at a high velocity by playing hard on the keyboard, it'll strike into the sustain note like this. On the other end, if you push the note softly at a low velocity, then the notes will slide into each other. But notice down here the velocity is at 0, which will enable the sliding function. This is often what I do in this section. As you can see, there's at least 3 notes that will slide into each other. The first half of this section is made up of only 2 functions. The solo violin, violas, violins, and the female voice will play the melody together, and then the cellos will go up and down the C and D flat notes. As we move into the second half of section 3, the solo violin will harmonize together as a 3rd interval, before sliding up to a 4th interval. There's also a great low boom right at that transition here. And then the final chord of the song will sustain that same chord. Enjoy section 3 in full. Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls 1 was composed by Motoi Sakuraba, while Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls 3 was composed by Yuka Kitamura. While 2 distinct songs with 2 different composers, these 2 versions of Firelink Shrine share many similarities, and it is clear that Kitamura learned much from Sakuraba and how to achieve the Dark Souls sound and atmosphere. I want to thank all the Patreons who have supported me in our mission to uncover the secrets behind the greatest video game songs of all time. The people who have donated include Kevin Huin, Sam Hanley, Manish Corona, Dennis Mowers, Justin Chin, and Alan Brown. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Music Design.